All right. $50 up front. All sales are final. No, you don't get a receipt. Fat Tony can't find out I got this money in my pocket. All right, here goes. Hey, kids, thank you for watching Nerds That Out podcast. The only podcast in the whole wide world that ever asked me to cut them a promo. Oh.
Stop right there!
Welcome to Nerds Night Out.
Now, beer. There was hardly any beer
Are we going, by the way?
in the Wild West. It depends if it takes off from here. Does this sound organic?
No.
Beer.
Let's talk about beer.
There was hardly any beer in the Wild West.
That's a shame.
And when people think about the Wild West, a lot of people actually think that it was fueled by gambling and cattle rustling and beer.
Right.
But no, beer wasn't really a thing. I mean, it existed.
Oh, it's definitely a thing, but not for our Wild West friends.
Right.
Yeah.
Because beer needed to be refrigerated in some form or another. They didn't have these aluminum kegs that we have today.
By the way, that's for my science friends out there. Louis Pasteur, the pasteurization process. Am I saying that right? I got to be right.
Pastel. He was French.
It wasn't. They always say they always teach it with cow milk and everything like that, but it really actually was beer. He was trying to figure out why his beer was going bad.
What temperature?
Oh, I have no idea.
Pasteurizes?
I have no idea. I drink almond milk.
I believe it's 145 degrees Fahrenheit.
That's good. I'm an almond milk guy. I don't want to be that. I don't want to tell you. Unsweetened vanilla almond milk. That's my go-to. half of our listeners just turned off right there when they heard that.
And the other half saw what we both look like and realized we're not drinking almond milk.
No, I am drinking almond milk.
Knock it
I
off.
love almond milk. That's the only thing I drink because I can't have sugar. Real milk has so much sugar and I can't do it.
You did not just pronounce it sugar, did you?
Sugar.
Okay.
Sugar, like from sugar.
So the Wild West was actually
We just got shut down because that's copyrighted. Yeah.
Lubricated with whiskey.
Yes, that's an odd choice of wording. Lubricated with whiskey. That brings me back
40
to my seminary days. But I get what you're saying. That was
Because whiskey does not need to be refrigerated.
No, and a hell of a lot safer to drink than water at the time. That's for shit sure. I mean, you're not getting dysentery from whiskey, right? You're not getting dysentery from whiskey. Water kills. Well, at this time, water's killing. Remember Back to the Future 3? When Marty goes back and they pour him a glass of water and it's essentially mud?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, and that's what they were drinking. And then
Wonderful reference.
thank you. Yeah, well, I love that movie. And then they're like, why am I dying of dysentery? Why did Terry die of dysentery on the trail? That's because you're giving him dirt. You're dirt in a cup.
Yeah, one of my favorite lines in that movie was, "I miss aspirin."
Yeah.
We really take aspirin and Tylenol and Advil for granted.
Oh, my God,
Imagine
yeah.
living without those.
I can't tell you. You know how much pain people were in back then when they study bones, human remains.
Right. You're absolutely right.
Like how much arthritis, how much pain these people were in. It's outrageous.
Children's bones had arthritis.
Yes. Oh yeah. Well, yeah, and like I always tell people, whiskey. It did. I'm afraid to go with your slang, your term there, but whiskey did lubricate the nation. I kept this going. That's such a weird thing to say, but it's true because there was a whiskey rebellion. People were ready to fight over it. There were people who trusted whiskey more than they moonshine better than they liked any kind of currency. So, but I don't know. I like movies about the Wild West. I think they're a lot of fun. But I'm super glad.
What's your favorite movie about the Wild West?
Oh, that's a great one. My favorite movie about the Wild West. See, now I have Back to the Future 3 in my head, and that doesn't really I'm not gonna say that counts per se. more like a science. Not Cowboys and Aliens. That was terrible. I don't know. I'm drawing a blank right now. Come back to me.
All right, I'll come back to you. I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you my train of thought here.
Okay.
When I think about the Wild West and the movies that I'm a fan of, I automatically go to Clint Eastwood
Oh, okay.
and A Fistful of Dollars, the outlaw Josie Wales.
Yeah.
My absolute favorite, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. But those
Good choices.
Those were spaghetti westerns.
Oh, spaghetti westerns.
Those
yeah,
weren't
sure. Yeah.
westerns. Those weren't actual westerns. And as cliche as it sounds, I need to say that my favorite real western is Tombstone.
Tombstone's great. Tombstone's great. I now that I've had a moment to think about it, I'm gonna give my father credit where credit is due, and I know there's a lot of modern media backlash against him, but my dad is a John Wayne fanatic.
Your dad had media against him?
He may, yeah. I think he was canceled by modern media, but I actually was referring to John Wayne. John Wayne. Who's
that clown from Chicago?
That's John Wayne Gacy. John Wayne Gacy. It's a different John Wayne altogether. Different John Wayne altogether. No, that's John. That was a murdering. Right? Did he murder people? Actually, I don't know much about John Wayne Gacy. I probably should, but I don't.
Yes. He was an upstanding member of society
Yeah, he had
in
a
his
picture with
community.
the First Lady, right?
He was always prominent in the parades in his city.
Was he
and
Polish? I think he was like big in the Polish community. I think.
He was parts of all kinds of clubs in his community, and he also was a pedophilic, homosexual serial killer.
No, that's not something you put on your resume. But yeah, it's
And he hid all the bodies in the crawl space of his own house.
so. But this is not the John Wayne I was talking about. Just so we're clear about this, this is not the John Wayne that my
Well, he
dad
deserves
likes.
bad press.
Right. I'm talking about John Wayne, because of all the negative kind of stereotypical things and largely racist things that he did say. But ignoring the faults of the man, his movies were pretty fun to watch. John Wayne's grandson is technically like the Mandalorian more than Pedro Pascal is.
Get out of here.
Yeah, he's a stuntman.
Oh, so he probably is.
Yeah. No, he really is.
Yeah, so he probably has
correct,
just as much airtime.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, this guy. He was actually at Comic-Con this year, and he was, doing signings, and he wanted an absurd amount of money. And I was going to get his autograph just for my dad, but I don't think he really
you
cares
need
about
to tell
John
me.
Wayne's grandson.
How much was he asking?
80 something for a signature, I believe. If I remember correctly, some of these people. Remember when we went to the convention in New Jersey, and the guy who did the voice of Johnny Five from Short Circuit?
It's one of my favorite stories.
Oh
ever.
my God!
Can I tell it?
Yeah, go ahead. Go. I mean, what are we? This is our show. We do whatever the hell you want.
I've got 9 pages of notes here.
All right.
Yeah,
Well, we'll make
let's
it brief.
Tell the story.
We'll make it brief.
All right. So, Tom and a mutual friend of ours talked me into going to my first con ever. This is 2 years ago. It was maybe even 3. It was like right when COVID ended, so things just started opening up. ChillerCon,
Chiller Theater Expo.
Chiller Theater Expo,
in New Jersey, Parsippany, New Jersey.
what he said. And there were a
I'm a
bunch.
regular.
It was the first time I ever actually went to one of these things, and I found it very strange that there were just a bunch of these quasi. I'm being very generous using this word here, but
You are.
quasi celebrities sitting at a table, just being hopeful that someone would walk up to them and talk to them.
Right.
And
Buy their merch.
and hopefully give them money for an autograph or a photo.
At this point, for existing. I mean, really, that's about it.
In a
Like,
lot of cases, yeah. So, in this one room, this place was huge, but it had a bunch of
Huge.
small rooms in New Jersey. This one place, this one room that we walked into, had the actor, the voice actor that was the voice of Johnny Five, and he also was the voice of nothing else at all.
Nothing
This
noteworthy, at
man,
least.
He
I don't think he had anything else. That
I don't
was
think
like,
he had anything
yeah.
else.
Yeah.
This was his only gig in life ever.
Johnny Five. Ooh.
Johnny Five alive.
Yeah, right.
So-
We could have listen. Honestly, we could have done that. And I don't know who's taking a picture with a voice actor. Right.
This guy had a sign
Yeah.
that said, I
It
think
was like take a picture with
it was $25 for an autograph,
Yeah.
$50 for an autograph, and a photo with him.
Correct.
And I was thinking, who?
Did he have Johnny Five there?
No,
he didn't,
No,
right?
it was
That would've
just
kinda added
it was
to it a
just
little.
a guy in his 60s sitting on the back end of a $15 Amazon folding table.
Yeah, yeah.
Looks familiar.
Yeah, I was gonna say, kind of.
at this con with a poster behind him telling everyone who he is, because no one's going to recognize him because he's a voice actor that's only done one character
Yeah.
back in the 80s.
Twice. He did it twice.
He did it twice, but they were both back in the 80s.
So let's
Well, he
check
wasn't
it
working in the
too.
90s, was he?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know either, but
Yeah.
it's,
I'll say yes,
It's
but it can't-
absolutely not relevant.
Right,
I can,
nothing
I
of
can,
consequence.
I can say that much.
I feel so bad that we're attacking this guy.
He charged $50
Yeah.
for a photo.
But
so
we could have
going-
done that.
Going on with we could
I
have.
could have set up my own table, Mike. I was the voice of Johnny Five in Short Circuit.
And no one would doubt you.
Look at me. I'm Johnny
Johnny
Five.
Five alive.
Like, oh my God, it's him. It's
No
that guy.
disassemble. No disassemble. See?
Yeah. I mean, the age
So,
doesn't work
so
out.
all right.
but-
So this guy was charging that much, and what I did was I actually went like 20 feet away from the table, and I took a selfie with him far in the background.
Yes.
and I zoomed in on him was still with me in the foreground, just to see what his reaction would be. And the reaction really was nothing.
right. Yeah.
But I really was rude to the guy because there's really nothing else going on in front of him because
This is why.
of the circumstance that he's in. But the story that I thought to myself was, imagine now,
Yeah.
if I take this picture, this clear picture of this man who has a face that nobody recognizes.
No.
And I take this picture and I put it on, let's say, my Facebook page. And I say, had a great day at ChillerCon.
Chiller Theater Expo.
What Tom said. And someone, like a mutual friend of mine on Facebook, come back and say, hey,
Who's that?
is that the voice actor of the guy that played Johnny Five?
You know it. You know it is. I knew you were
Like,
going to
just,
recognize.
just imagine like the absurdity.
Yeah.
This guy's charging $50 for a picture that no one's gonna know who the hell this guy is.
What we should have done, is waited for him to go on a lunch break, take over the booth, and charge the same price to take pictures with
no,
us.
these poor people were taking their lunch breaks right there. Someone was delivering them food.
I know. Listen, you were
It was my first time, and
Yeah.
I felt so bad for so many of
He
these
did.
people.
He did. There are different degrees of conventions and expos, and Chiller Theater and New York Comic Con are really at like polar opposite ends of what you might expect. Where New York Comic Con has that kind of like glitz and glamour that you might expect with something that's going to be covered on the news, and Chiller Theater is like 3 steps. And listen, I love Chiller Theater. I love it. I go many times. And your experience was similar to I brought another friend who was appalled when I met an author I liked, and I started geeking out. A self-published author who wrote a book that I loved, and they were like, "Oh my God!"
Well, that's nice.
They couldn't believe how nerdy I get at these things, and how some of them, like you said, can be rather depressing. And
It was so sad.
if New York Expo is like the Met Gala, then Chiller Theater, and again, love Chiller Theater. I'm just saying, sometimes it's like 3 steps above an obituary.
Do you remember the one celebrity in my mind? The one celebrity from me that I met at that place?
Was it the woman from Pee Wee Herman's Big
No, well,
She was
yeah,
there.
the waitress from Pee Wee's
She
Big
was there.
Adventure was there. No, it was the guy in the audience in a wheelchair.
Is that from the Independent Channel in Brooklyn
It was
or
from
Queens?
Queens
Yeah.
Public Access Channel. He hosted
Oh, that's right. You
show.
went. You. Listen,
Yes!
Screw that shit. I just realized that I just got like this overwhelming sense of like nerdiness because just I go
Yeah.
crazy for meeting authors and artists, but you went nuts for the public access guy.
And he wasn't even like he was there to like look at the other nerds. He
Right.
he didn't have a table or anything. This guy's channel was called, and he's on YouTube, and he's got all kinds of stuff on YouTube.
Look at you.
Sci-fi Ninja
don't-
Theater.
Don't plug him. Don't plug him.
I did it.
You can't. You can't.
Oh, I'm gonna beep that out.
I'm not. You can plug wherever you want.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding. But
it's gonna get bleeped
yeah,
out.
you know what? Screw that. Well, here I am thinking, oh gosh, I wasn't. I hope I wasn't. Oh, now
He
I'm
might
speak-
be inappropriate.
Oh, crap! Now I'm speaking like Johnny Five.
He really only interviews women cosplaying in very skimpy clothing.
Yeah, I know.
Which when I was 19 years old,
Yeah.
I would watch public access. And I would see a guy in a wheelchair hanging out with a bunch of women cosplaying in very skimpy clothing. So at like 4 a.m. on channel 34 here in Queens,
Yeah.
I would keep that channel.
You did, and you got a CD, didn't you? Didn't you get a CD or DVD?
Oh, it was so sad.
Did you ever watch it?
When I approached him, no, I didn't watch. I don't have a DVD player. When I went up to the guy,
He gave it to you for free, didn't he?
when I went up to the
Didn't
guy,
he not charge you?
I told him I'm a fan, and I was like, I recognize you from TV, from Sci-Fi Ninja Theater. I used to watch you in Queens Public.
Yeah, buddy,
And-
great,
yeah,
great.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
what he's a little guy. He would be little even if he was standing. All right, no, but he's in a wheelchair. He's not a midget.
Wow.
I'm sorry, he's not a little person.
Yeah.
But he is a very short guy. Clearly,
Short
clearly
king,
some kind
as
of
they say.
handicap. But when I came up to him, I said, I recognize you. I used to be a huge fan of yours. I haven't seen you in a long time. And he's like, oh yeah, thank you for the support. Blah blah.
You got a cigarette?
You want a CD? And it was a DVD. And I was like, okay. It's $5 donation. I was like, yeah. No thanks.
Yeah.
And he goes, all right, just don't bootleg it.
Yeah.
That's like deal.
Right. Because that was your.
And I absolutely didn't bootleg it. I don't even have a DVD player.
Well, he was onto you. He was onto your scam that you were going to take his public access channel that's on YouTube for free, copy it, and then bootleg it and somehow make a fortune
I don't
of
know what's on it, but
Yeah.
I'd imagine it's him interviewing a bunch of girls
Yeah.
and literally girls and young women cosplaying in skimpy clothing. But I really don't
Tiny
know.
pervert.
Sci-Fi Ninja Theater.
First of all, kudos to him for the goddamn name. That's a pretty cool name.
Oh, and his character wears a black luchador mask, and he talks like this, in this exact cadence.
What are there? Are there any ninjas on the show?
I think he's supposed to be the ninja.
Oh, that's disheartening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
when he plays that character, he's
So
not
the
not
ninja-
sitting down in his wheelchair. He's standing up, but you know
There's a lot of too many themes going on there. He's wearing a luchador mask and he's a ninja. It's a lot of too many and it's science
well, it's a
fiction
black.
somehow.
It's an all black luchador mask. It's black.
Yeah?
It's black on sequence black.
This is getting worse by the second. I'm not gonna lie. This is like Liberace's closet. Liberace would be like, oh no, I'm not wearing that. That's too gaudy.
Speaking of Liberace,
Wow,
the Wild West.
that's nothing. Liberace has nothing to do with the Wild West at all. But let's do that because that is first of all, I'm Tom.
And I'm Q.
And this is Nerds Night Out, and tonight we're going to be talking about the Wild West, which is such a
Already? I mean, it's only been 18 minutes. Doc Holliday, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight's topic will be Doc Holliday, an enigma of a man, but arguably the most famous person of the Wild West. Well-known gambler, drinker, wanderer, womanizer, gunslinger, doctor, and gentleman.
That's a hell of a resume.
Right?
Yeah.
This man is an original, to say the least. But what's more, mysterious. This man wrote not a single word about himself. The only records history has of this man are court records of arrest, sentences, and fines. All other information gathered about Doc Holliday is literal hearsay from newspaper articles, books written by acquaintances, recorded eyewitness statements that tell the story skewed from the perception and persuasion of the person telling the tale. Today, we'll be talking about the more well-known facts about the mysterious but most well-known person of the Wild West, Doc Holiday.
You have to consider that with all of history, right? Like just how much of it is, and you'll have to excuse my French here. How much of it is hogwash? Oh, yeah, I went there. I said
The movie Tombstone
yeah,
really is what introduced Doc Holliday to me.
Sure, a lot of
and
people.
I became a fan of Doc Holliday right off the bat from watching that movie.
Val-
Just like most
yeah.
people my age.
Val Kilmer killed it.
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness,
he's
did
great.
he kill it?
Yeah.
Now, here's a question for you. I did a lot of research on this. In your personal opinion,
Yeah.
do you think the movie Tombstone was mostly historically accurate?
No.
In his, I'll even
okay.
get more. I'll even get
Specific.
more specific.
Okay.
In his one-liners and cool scenes.
Oh yeah, like in terms of Doc Holliday knowing Latin, for example, of the progression of a sickness.
I'm your Huckleberry. You're a daisy if you do.
Yeah. I'm your Huckleberries actually was like a debated line for a long time because people were confident that he was saying something else, but the script does say I'm your Huckleberry. So I mean, I do like the dialogue. I do like
Dragging Johnny Tyler out by the ear.
yeah. I actually when I taught Latin for a number of years, I used that scene of him. Oh, you're an educated man. Now I hate him even more.
No,
I love that scene. It is a great film.
now
but
I'm sure of it.
Hollywood's not interested in accurately depicting the past. They're not interested in that. They're interested in putting butts in seats and dollars in their pockets.
Well-
So when it comes to films, I mean, you can't blame them. If you're going to a Hollywood film and you're saying to yourself, "My God, I hope this is historically accurate," or based on true events or based on a true story, there's a very loose definition of what qualifies as such. So. Although I do enjoy Tombstone, and it is, like you said, a great starting point for people who don't know who Doc Holliday is, don't know who Wyatt Earp is, don't know who the Earp brothers are. It's a great jumping off point to kind of learn more about it, but I wouldn't invest too much in terms of historical accuracy.
I'm so glad you said that.
Yeah,
Because-
I said it too.
Because the movie is remarkably accurate.
Well, I'm not glad I said that then.
The movie actually, it's painstakingly
Yeah.
accurate. Not every scene, word for word, and detail to detail, but his best scenes and best one-liners really are documented from witnesses.
You're talking about Doc Holliday per se.
I'm talking about Doc Holliday.
Yeah, right.
himself.
I was talking about the movie as a whole, like just
The movie as a whole also is fairly accurate.
yeah. But I mean, they take it's Hollywood. They're going to take liberties. It's not it's they have 2 hours to tell a story that went on for decades. You know what I mean?
It's such a good real life story.
Yeah.
That they did not have to write too much.
oh, it is. I mean, he is.
Wyatt Earp also.
Yeah, I mean, during his
the story-
lifetime, he is a legend.
Now the Earps, the brothers, and the crew that he ran with, they were also. Yes, they had the law on their side, but they're gambling degenerates one minute and getting into gunfights, and the other minute they're deputies. There's really no clear good guy and bad guy in this whole thing. There's the law and the judicial system, but you can murder in cold blood, and as long as you say someone called you a cheat,
right.
the gunfight was legal, even if someone got killed.
Yeah, I do not envy living in a time period like that. I mean, it's not lawless, but it certainly has the illusion of that because, I mean, how are you proving these things?
Well,
right? Yeah.
In those days, if someone were to call you a cheat, it is a very serious claim.
Yeah.
And now you're either going to be a cheat for the rest of your life, whether you were or not. Everyone's going to know you as one, unless you kill the man that's going to tell people that.
Mm-hmm.
So the survivor gets to stake his claim in whatever he's
Right.
going to say about whoever got accused. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Sure.
So you could cheat at cards, but if you kill the guy, you're not a cheat anymore.
Yeah.
Might is right. And I believe architects are really the responsible ones for the Wild West being as crazy as it was. All they really had to do was make the town big enough for everybody.
Yeah, but the town was not big enough for the both of them.
Yeah.
It's actually it's like barbed wire essentially that brings an end to the Wild West. You know, because when you start caging and everything, it's done. Barbed wire.
Who's Bob Wire?
Barbed.
Who's Barb Wire?
Barbed wire was a modern. It was an new invention at the
Barbara?
time.
Born John Henry Holliday in Griffin, Georgia, on August 14th, 1851. Begotten by Henry Burroughs Holliday and Alice Jane Holliday. His father was a pharmacist and soldier during the Mexican-American War, and then worked his way up to the ranks of major during the American Civil War. Retired due to illness in 1862.
What do you got? What do you have?
Watery dysentery.
Oh, and he survived it. Good for him. He almost pooped himself to death. Good for him.
Watery pooped himself to death.
That's they die. Mostly they die dehydration, right? When you have dysentery.
And in 1860, well, imagine,
Crap.
imagine having diarrhea and just killing you because you have a bout of diarrhea.
All 'cause-
I've been sick and I've had diarrhea before for like 4 or 5 days. Like, imagine that killing you.
Mostly from just the water they were drinking. How crazy is that? Like, you know, just the unpurified, filthy water. Just crazy.
Imagine Pepto-Bismol saves your life on a constant basis.
Yeah.
Because it does. It does, ladies and gentlemen.
It's a beautiful thing.
Imodium and Pepto-Bismol save our lives constantly. Constantly.
And the logo. What is the slogan? If it's a pink, you got to drink. I think that's it for Pepto-Bismol.
I'm not
pretty
about
sure.
to sing the I'm not singing the Pepto-Bismol song.
If it's a pink, you got to drink. I'm making this up. I have no idea.
No, they have the one that it ends with diarrhea.
Oh yeah, what an unpleasant song, right? What an unpleasant song. Heartburn, something, right? Is that something diarrhea, right? Oh God.
You know what? If you listen really closely, you're going to hear it right now in the post-edit.
And you have nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea, 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 diarrhea.
There you go.
In 1864, he moved his family to Valdosta, Georgia. This is when Doc attends Valdosta Institute to begin his studies and become a dentist. In 1866, when Doc was 15 years old, his mother, Alice Jane, dies of tuberculosis on
the old
December
TB.
16th, 1866. This is devastating to Doc, since he and his mother were very close. Doc's father, Henry, gets over it much faster than Doc did and married Rachel Martin 3 months later. Rachel was only a couple years older than Doc. Do you think his mom was a senior when he was a freshman?
Yeah, right.
Do you think she asked
Like-
his dad to prom?
Straight out of Bill and Ted's. Hey, Missy. I mean, Mom.
Mom.
Yeah.
Just a slight Oedipus complex.
Marrying young was practical and reasonable for a lot of reasons back then. Of
Yeah, but
course.
do you do it over and over again?
Like you're taking multiple wives to replace your wife that
No,
just
you take
died.
multiple young wives to
Yeah.
replace.
Boy, who was it? Who was the damn president? Pierce? Not Pierce. John Tyler, I think. John Tyler was like president in the 1700s. Had a child when he was in his like late 70s, right? Then that child has a child when he's in his late 70s. So his grandson is alive right now. Just so you know, like, isn't that crazy? He was born.
A president whose name I don't recognize has
Yeah.
a grandchild that's alive right now.
Correct, and he was president in I believe the 1700s, or he was born in the 1700s, I should say.
Wow.
He was born in the 1700s, and his grandsons. I mean, they were super old, and they married super young, and they had really they
That's
had kids.
gross.
I know. I mean, the last Civil War veteran died only a few short years ago, but that's kind of a different thing. Like they would marry young women, like these old timers would marry young women only because they knew when they passed their pension would go to nobody. So they married really young so that these women would inherit. And she actually had kept that secret for a number of years. She didn't come out and tell anyone because I guess she thought I would have like a stigma about it, like she was a gold digger or something like that. But it's not like we were talking about much. These old timers just didn't want their pensions to stop and go back to the government. They wanted to help other people, so they married young. It was actually kind of noble in a weird way.
Charitable.
Yeah, right.
But he's still making babies.
No, not these guys. Not the
Okay,
ones.
okay,
not the
okay.
Civil War vets. I was
Okay,
talking-
okay, okay.
Yeah, they weren't. They I mean, they would marry these women and then probably like just never ever even see them again. You know.
All right, now this seems like an appropriate time to mention that Doc had an adopted brother that his father took home from the Mexican-American War before he had even met his wife, Alice Jane. Francisco Hidalgo, a.k.a. Hidalgo. Hidalgo was 15 when Doc was born.
It sounds like a Hidalgo sounds like a service you would get online.
Right?
Yeah, like-
it's E.
Sign up for.
Dalgo.
Yeah.
Was his
Sign up for
alias.
Hidalgo.
This was also back when you can just take children of the families that you killed during a war. Seriously though,
Right.
it was a huge humanitarian gesture to adopt a child from a war-torn situation.
I guess. Yeah, and right. Do we know the circumstances behind the adoption of Hidalgo? Like,
Yeah,
did he like?
the Americans killed his family?
Did Doc is Doc the American that killed his family? You
No,
know what I mean? Like-
no. Doc wasn't born.
No, I mean the dad.
Dad.
yeah.
Henry. No.
Henry. Yeah.
Well, we don't know.
Okay,
we
all
don't
right.
know.
Imagine that,
He
though,
he
like-
had some kind of hand in it. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Since he
Sorry, I
was-
killed your ma.
He was there.
Yeah. Sorry, I
and-
killed your
and-
ma.
and
You're gonna be
found-
my kid now.
And found an orphan.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
yeah.
I guess it's it's nice. It's nice. I'll say it's nice because I don't know the circumstances. Superficially,
He
it
could
seems
have
nice.
left him to die.
He could have left. It's not like Mexico in the 1840s is like a dystopian wasteland. He could have survived. We don't know.
Yeah, we don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. Hidalgo could have gone on to create the World Wide Web. I don't know. I'm just making something up, but I'm saying, who knows?
Because his name begins with an E.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's what I'm thinking. Like, I'm just thinking he's a tech genius now. I don't know why. Hidalgo.
Doc was born with a cleft palate and suffered from a speech impediment because of it. As a child, he underwent corrective surgery because they were rich. They were plantation owners at the time. And his mother taught him to speak properly. And it was during this time she began teaching him how to conduct himself properly and using formal manners. Finishing school, if you will.
Yes.
Hidalgo died of tuberculosis in 1873. Hidalgo came from a very rough situation in his younger life, unlike Doc, who came from a well-to-do family of plantation owners. Hidalgo taught Doc how to fight and kill with his fists, knives, and guns.
But he did it very politely because of his mom.
There was a juxtaposition in his household
Yeah.
of this kid that came from a war-torn situation and these highfalutin slave-owning plantation owners.
Right. It is. We're okay. Yeah. We're talking about at this point pre-Civil War, but it is rather unusual to see to be a plantation owner, you're talking extremely wealthy, and obviously someone with often little disregard for human. No disregard for human. Humanitarian efforts. If you're going to enslave a number of people on your farm, usually humanitarian efforts and what you're doing are not going side by side. So them taking him in is definitely an oddity among Southern culture. That he
didn't take in a slave.
he took in a Mexican.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. I understand. He took in a Mexican child, but we're not exactly talking about the most open-minded people at the time.
Right, he didn't enslave the kid that he adopted, though.
No, I understand that.
It's a weird. It's just so weird.
Yeah, right.
The whole mindset of being able to own people, but adopting another. I don't know.
That.
I really can't. I can't. I don't even want to try to get into that mindset.
Right. I mean, that's the good thing, right? We don't. Yeah. But that after the Civil War, a lot of these people, like from Georgia, they took their plantation money and they headed out to parts of the world where slavery was still legal. So then they continued to live and practice. So like you could travel to parts of Brazil today, and you'll see towns that fly the Confederate flag, because they're descendants of the Southern plantation owners that moved down there. It's quite interesting, and it's problematic even there now.
It's so weird.
Yeah, it is weird, right? Yeah.
Doc was a well-behaved kid, contrary to popular belief. He was calm, passive, and a distinguished gentleman, having always exercised proper manners that his mother had taught him. Doc was a model student. His strongest subjects were math, history, and rhetoric.
Oh, I like rhetoric.
Rhetoric.
I wish we still taught that.
Rhetoric is the study of the art of writing and speaking well, fluently, and persuasively. He was fluent in French, Latin, and ancient Greek.
Wow.
Doc, at the age of 15, was challenged to an after-school duel, and Doc agreed. These after-school duels only used primers, not bullets. Now,
like
Tom,
the-
do you know what a primer is as
that-
compared to a bullet?
Is that just what's making the spark and the smoke and everything? Just no bullet coming out.
It's the initial
Like the shell
part-
without the bullet.
It's the initial part of the bullet that sparks when activated to light the gunpowder,
Okay, right.
which will release the
So
bullet.
the illusion of a gunshot minus the bullet,
It makes a little pop sound,
like a toy.
like hands clapping. A little bit louder, but a very loud hand clap.
I can't do it any louder.
A little bit of smoke. But after school, when the two boys were being handed their pistols with only primers in them, Doc said that he will only duel with his own gun and with his own ammo. Real ammo. The challenger backed down,
Yep.
and Doc's honor was satisfied.
I'd back down too. Like
At the
screw that
age of
kid.
15, Doc accepted a challenge for only a real duel to the death.
Yeah. I mean, well, 15 then is like 30 now.
Right?
You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, guy, I was just kidding around, man. Like, God, you try hard.
Now, this is a great image, though. Two rich kids meeting up at 3:30, grabbing guns that only make clapping sounds, standing back to back, taking 10 paces, and saying,
Oh,
"Draw,"
yeah.
and then just saying, draw. I mean, take it easy, guys. No one brought the pastels. And where are we supposed to find an easel after school?
But that's with the dueling thing. Dueling is like one of those things that when we think of, like, you think of Hamilton, you think of Burr.
I said draw. Where are we supposed to find an easel after school?
different draw. But it's like one of those. It's again one of those like romanticized things. That a lot of times it didn't actually happen the way. Like they would walk the 10 paces, turn around, pop the gun in the air, and they called it a day. You know.
Get out of here. People survived duels. Like both people survived.
You could
a
have
single duel.
You could have if obviously the people who are generally doing this are, like you said, like they're the wealthier. Sometimes they would just pay people to take their place. Yeah, I mean it was a very romanticized thing versus what was actually happening.
They didn't take their glove off and slap the other dude in the face.
Oh, I'm sure they did things
I
like that.
demand satisfaction.
Right, yeah. I would love to see like a dandy, like a fancy dandy guy like that, getting looked at by someone working in the coal mines in Appalachia, and just being like, my God, what has God wrought? You know, like what is this country going to? You know, I would just love to see how that interaction would happen, like that a fancy Southern dandy and a coal miner for Appalachia sitting down breaking bread, and 3 seconds into it, the Appalachian just rips the fancy
Rips
man
his arms off.
I know, just beats him to death with his own arms. I would look. It'd just be a fun image.
At the age of 18, Doc spent his summers with his female cousin, and they had a taboo relationship. But being Catholic, their relationship was forbidden by their family.
Only Roosevelts can marry their cousins.
Now, this was a taboo relationship. If you don't know what that means, it's like a sock falling in love with a flip-flop. It'll never work out.
No.
At the age of 20,
Although that does look comfortable. Socks and flip flops.
a sock inside.
I know.
Oh, like my big toe is going to be like all parted
I know.
weird, like
Yeah.
ninja shoes.
I'm wearing flip flops right now as we speak.
Let me see.
Yeah.
He's telling the truth.
No, I do.
At the age of 20, Doc kind of becomes a dentist.
What do you mean, kind of?
Well, he
Like,
becomes
this is like 1800s dentist.
he graduated from Pennsylvania College of Dental Surgery.
All right,
But
pretty
Doc graduated 5 months before his 21st birthday. And his academic excellence was a problem. Since he wasn't allowed to practice dentistry until he was 21, the school held on to his degree for those 5 months. Congratulations, your academic excellence is excellent. Now fuck off for 5 months.
They're British.
Well, isn't that what they spoke in Pennsylvania?
Yeah, that's all. That's how they sound even now. Right.
Yeah, that was my Pennsylvania accent.
Yeah, yeah. I could speak like I'm from
All right,
Pennsylvania.
let me try a Pennsylvania accent. Okay. Congratulations, your academic excellence. Now fuck off of. Oh, wait, hold on.
That's Philly, maybe.
It's Philly.
Yeah,
Philly,
I'll
Pennsylvania.
help you out. I'll help you out. Congratulations on your academic excellence. Now F all for 5 months.
That is a wonderful Pennsylvania accent.
Yes, Pennsylvania. I love it. I'm gonna use that voice for when we do Doc Holliday. Yeah.
Now, these 5 months were in the summer of 1872 when Doc got an assistant job under a classmate of his that opened up his own dental shop in St. Louis, Missouri. So already,
Yep.
Doc has been
He graduated.
well. He's been traveling already. He's been visiting his cousin. Now
Practicing
he's up in
dentistry
St.
without
Louis.
his license.
So at a very early age, he starts to travel.
Yeah.
He probably doesn't know yet that he's going to be living a very nomadic life,
Oh,
but this is the start of it.
gathering crops.
Right across the street from this dental shop is a saloon where there's gambling, and it's owned by a lesser-known Earp brother, James Earp. And one person that happens to work there is a house prostitute by the name of Big Nose Kate.
Oh, yes. Big
We'll
nose
talk
Kate.
about her in a little while. Though speculated, it's very probable that this is when Doc first met some of the Earp brothers and Doc's famous girlfriend, Big Nose Kate.
Yeah, sure. She's hanging around. Got it.
Since Doc
Gal's gotta
always
make a living.
has a propensity for whiskey, gambling, and women, 5 months later, Doc gets his diploma and is a practicing dentist in Atlanta. In 1873, Doc and his partner, John Seeger, go to Dallas and they won the top 3 awards at the. Now, this is a big deal.
Yeah.
All right. At the annual Dallas County Fair, they won best in best gold teeth,
Oh, yeah.
vulcanized rubber teeth, and best general false teeth.
Nice.
Their practice thrived until it didn't.
What happened? 1874.
In 1874 is when it stopped thriving. His patients got all spooked and never returned when Doc would have these long coughing spells during the procedures.
Oh, yeah. I guess that would kind of scare me away from your coughing
Yeah.
directly to my mouth.
This is around the time when he became diagnosed with tuberculosis.
Whooping cough.
The same thing that his mother and Hidalgo had died from.
Poor guys.
Consumption, if you will.
Yeah. Oh, I got the consumption was like the go-to name for just about.
Now, Doc
Yeah,
wanted to be a
everything.
dentist, but he just didn't have the patience anymore. All those people had toothaches. They would all now have to go to the foot doctor if they wanted to get healed.
Oh, God.
They had to go to the foot doctor
Yes,
if
no.
they wanted to get healed.
I heard.
All these doctor jokes have me in stitches.
Oh, my sweet God, Jesus.
This is when Doc is now jobless and he takes up gambling professionally in Dallas, Texas, where gambling has just recently been turned into a crime. Now, Dallas did not want to have gamblers in their town anymore. They were more
Shut it down.
distinguished. They were more distinguished of a town than that. It took a while for everything to kick in, but little by little, they tried to push the crime away. But still in 1974, Doc and 12 other high-profile gamblers were arrested for illegal gambling. This was the city trying to make
Yeah, trying to shine
example.
himself up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
an example.
And you're not gonna pass the law and then just let these guys keep going on. You're gonna shut it down.
Now this is in a way kind of already proof. It's his first year being a gambler, and he's already high profile enough to be on the list of people that need to be made an example of
Right.
in this city of Dallas. Luckily, every saloon hosts working women and has gambling. This gives a new meaning to the game poker. Know what I'm saying? Poker?
Sweet mother.
Poker?
Bro.
I hardly even know her.
Sweet mother of God.
January 1st, 3 a.m., 1975. It's just 3 hours past 1974. Like, we're still there.
Yeah.
3 a.m., New Year's Day. Doc and a saloon owner exchange gunfire over accusing Doc of being a cheat. No one was injured, so all charges were dropped.
Yeah, I gotta love that.
Wild West, baby.
Yeah. You gotta love that. That this, first of all, it's 3 a.m. You know how much alcohol is in their human bodies at this time.
They're still in Dallas.
They're probably more alcohol than human at that point. And 3 a.m. Just imagine everyone in this saloon is armed to the teeth.
Nothing good happens at 3 a.m.
No,
And nothing good happens at 3 a.m. on New Year's Day.
with alcohol, with guns, not a good idea.
Yeah.
Not a good idea.
People that aren't usually drunk at 3 a.m. are drunk at 3 a.m. on New Year's Day.
Well, if
I
it's-
believe New
yeah.
Year's is amateur night in any time period at all. Now, Doc had to leave Dallas. This all happened in Dallas, by the way.
Yeah.
Doc had to leave Dallas because his fines were catching up with him.
Yeah, sure. That makes sense.
He was fined for being charged originally, so he didn't pay it. He got into this altercation. He was found not guilty. The charges were dropped because it's the Wild West.
Yeah.
But his fine caught up to him. His name popped up, and they said, "Oh yeah, that guy owes a fine." So Doc leaves Dallas. Doc then gambled in Denison, Texas, but his Dallas fines caught up with him there also. So at that point, he just leaves Texas. Now this is a time when you can just leave town and all your crimes just go away.
Right. I mean, and just think about just how substantially large Texas is. I mean, and how prolific as a gambler, and how wanted, and how much money he must have owed for these fines and these things to follow him wherever he went.
I don't know the first two incidents were both in Dallas. I don't know how far Denison.
Oh, but let's
is
just
from
say, I mean,
Dallas.
this is a time period, hell, even into like the 1950s.
But Texas
You-
was bigger back then.
Yeah.
Before Texas was a state, it was bigger
Yeah.
than the state of Texas.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, I know, but what year are we in now?
Texarkana or whatever.
Yeah.
We are in. That was January 1st.
So 1875.
Of 75,
So
yeah.
Texas, the Rio Grande has been established by this point as the border of Mexico and the United States. Texas is. Yeah, fully kind of the state that we know today. It's gigantic. It's gigantic. It's the second largest state by size in the country.
Today, back then it was the largest.
Yeah, right.
We
Yeah.
didn't acquire Alaska yet.
Yeah. We're a few years. Well, we have Alaska as of 1867, I believe.
That's
But it's
a
a territory.
generation away from now. Doc heads north.
1867.
Yeah.
It's past.
Oh, it's
Yeah,
bad.
1867. I'm saying you're thinking it's
Edit
statehood.
that out. I don't want to
No.
look stupid in post.
You're thinking so it joins us as a state, I believe, in 1959, but it's a territory at the time. But yeah, right. I mean, so you're right. No, you're not wrong. It is a part of the United States, but it's a territory. But just, I mean, how crazy is Texas today? You were recently down in Texas, driving city to city. Is that like driving from here to like the Canadian border?
I went from Austin to San Antonio. It was an hour.
An hour? Okay, all right, all right.
And it's like here to like
Yeah, I know.
Tom's River, New
Correct.
Jersey.
Okay, yeah.
Doc heads north, stopping to gamble at coal towns and army camps on his way to Denver. This is when Doc starts going by his made-up alias, Tom Mackey. As if he wasn't hard enough to follow already, Doc gets a job at 357 Blake Street as the house table dealer. So now he's not a gambler anymore.
Yeah.
Now he's the house. Doc got into a gambling disagreement with a notorious tough guy named Bud Ryan. Knives were involved, and Doc walked away unscathed. Newspapers say Ryan was nearly decapitated, but survived, never fully recovering and grotesquely scarred.
I'd have to say, I mean, I wonder how a human being gets nearly decapitated and still like, I'm good, I'm all right.
I don't think he said that.
Yeah, he did.
He probably didn't say that for
It's
weeks.
on record. It's on record.
For weeks after it happened. Now, this, in the Wild West, was a perfectly acceptable way to settle a disagreement. Whoever walks away is correct. So, on this day, Bud learned he was wrong.
Yeah.
You can say that he got the point.
I'm not going to say that.
You
I could say that.
you could say Bud got the point.
No, it's a knife. Yep. Got his head cut off almost. I got it.
Thank you.
It's painful, but I got it.
Thank you for explaining that.
I think I'd rather be nearly decapitated than the dad joke.
I can.
No, don't. It was just an expression.
Oh, was that a dad joke
No,
in itself?
I have a beautiful face.
Let me see. Aw. In 1876, Doc comes to Cheyenne, Wyoming to hustle people in this new rich gold town. He got a job as the part owner of the Bella Union Saloon. Then the saloon was moved to South Dakota. He went with it. After hustling for a couple years, Doc moved back to Wyoming and got into a fight with Con. Con was beaten with Doc's walking stick. Beaten to a pulp, by the way. Doc was walking with a walking stick.
They do like the walking sticks. Andrew Jackson had one too. Beat the crap out of the guy, tried to shoot him.
Now, after the beating, later on that day, Con found Doc and shot him.
Oh.
Seriously injuring him. It could have killed him. He survived, but it could have killed him. Word got out that Doc was killed. It looked like a mortal wound.
Yeah.
It looked like he was going to die. Doc was whisked away to his aunt's house in another state, I think back in Dallas again.
Okay.
And that's where he went to heal. Newspapers said that he passed on.
Dude, that's a win. Take the win. They think you're dead. Die. like stay dead. You know, I mean, and go. Use that alias. Move to another town. Gamble.
Well, he's going by aliases.
Yeah, I'm saying like let it die. Let it die. Like I know it's probably like a macho thing. Like no, he wants to show that he survived this encounter and all that stuff.
Well, he walks with a limp ever since.
Yeah. But I guess now it's easy to find him.
Now he does this healing in Fort Griffin, Texas. Now, Fort Griffin, Texas is where the history books say that he met Catherine Horney. Mary Catherine Horney, a.k.a. Big Nose Kate. She's a prostitute and the only woman Doc ever had a formal relationship with. She was educated, cunning, and quick-witted, but was also a party girl and lived hard and partied harder. Doc also met Wyatt Earp here. While Earp was passing through looking for a train robber, Dirty Dave Rudabaugh. Doc met Rudabaugh while working at the house table,
Right.
and he told Earp that he knew where Rudabaugh was going and that Rudabaugh knew Earp was on his trail.
Am I the only one picturing every conversation they're having in Val Kilmer's voice?
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
I know where you found him. You know, like that's what I'm picturing.
Right.
Yeah. You were looking for
He's-
Dirty Dave? I know where he is.
He knows you're on his trail. And
Yeah.
And he knows that you're going to keep on going
Want
west.
me to go with you? I'm your Huckleberry.
He's fixing on doubling back to where he came from, which is what
Now,
happened.
you got to punctuate with a cough.
He told Earp the truth. Rudabaugh, Dirty Dave, said that he was on the run and that instead of going in the direction he's been going, he's going to actually double back to where he came from. Now,
Clever girl.
right. So Doc called the sheriff back at the town that he just left, saying he's on his way. Dirty Dave's on his way.
Yep.
Sheriff found him and got him.
I guess that's the one cool thing about being in the Wild West. Like, you get a rep, you get a cool nickname.
Now that phone call was recorded. Do you want to hear it?
That's a telegram. That's a telegraph message. What would you, if you lived in the Wild West and you had a nickname, what would it be? No, it's sweet Jesus. So, oh, God. If you lived in the Wild West, what would you want your nickname to be?
Q Ruckus.
Oh, Q Ruckus?
Yeah, Ruckus.
Okay.
Ruckus.
Okay. I got one for me. Slop Sink.
Done.
What's up, Slop Sink?
just pieces of old fried egg from yesterday.
Everyone's barging into town. I'm looking for slop sink.
So some broccoli from this morning.
He's everywhere. Little pieces of him.
Now, this is in Fort Griffin, Texas. At this time, Fort Griffin was known to be one of the, if not the most dangerous town in the Wild West. It had 8 to 10 saloons open at any given time of day or night, 6 dance halls, and the whole town was infested with working women.
I like
And
that.
on the outskirts of the town were
Good euphemism.
shanties where these working women would earn their money. Cheap whiskey and sporadic gunfire was constant. This is the epitome of an Old West town. Doc crossed paths with Curly Bill Brocious here, the guy that
Damn.
killed Sheriff Fred White. One of the few inconsistencies in the movie Tombstone was the fact that Fred White was an old man. Remember the guy that Curly Bill killed, the sheriff? In real life, he was like 34.
Yeah, okay.
But really, they only embellished on little details like that. The movie was remarkably accurate.
His name was Shitbrick Fred White. That was what they called it.
But he hated his name, so he changed it to Shitbrick Mike. Doc and Big Nose moved to Las Vegas, baby!
So like the desert.
New Mexico.
Yeah, I was going to say, like the desert.
And you know what they say happens in Las Vegas, New Mexico. It definitely happened.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
That's what they say.
I actually didn't even know there was a Las Vegas, New Mexico.
Did you know that?
It's still there?
Did you know that there's a Paris,
Yes, in Texas, right?
Texas?
Yeah, that I know.
Did you
Yeah.
really?
I finished it. I said Texas before you said Texas.
Did you know that there's an Albuquerque?
New Mexico?
What?
Wait, I mean, wait, but these things are no. I didn't
Are
know.
you a scientist?
No, it's not. I don't think that's. I didn't know there was a Las Vegas in New Mexico.
Now this is where an Army scout
I guess there is.
by the name Mike Gordon is hanging out at a local saloon with the typical daytime crowd of bartenders, prostitutes, and gamblers. Well, Mikey is having too much fun in his drunken stupor and falls in love with the house prostitute. He tells her he wants to marry her and leave town with her.
Yeah.
And he wants to start a new life together.
Oh,
Right?
like Pretty Woman.
He got his money's worth,
Yeah.
apparently, you know? So Mike, she reminds him that he's on the clock, but she politely declines his offer. So Mike, let's say, overreacts. He leaves screaming, insults her, and once in front of the saloon, begins opening fire randomly through the window.
Sure, logical,
Yeah.
makes sense.
You know, so Doc Holliday just happens to be inside, minding his own business, high stakes gambling, heavily drinking whiskey, armed with a concealed knife, fully loaded pistol, getting shot at,
God,
randomly shot at. You know, not pointed at, but
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
gunfire in his direction. Doc calmly walks out and puts one right in Mike's head.
alrighty. Hey, well that's listen, public service.
That's one of his few confirmed kills, by the way. Doc Holliday doesn't have many confirmed kills. He only has 2 confirmed kills. But I have to remind everybody, he did hurt a lot of people. He never backed down from anything. And he did go by an alias. And he didn't go bragging.
Yeah,
So
and he could have written down his exploits. I mean, a lot of time at this time period.
people were.
I mean, like Wild Bill Hickok was like an international celebrity at this time. You know what I mean? Like people are really digging like these 10-cent stories of like cowboys.
Annie
and
Oakley
the
was a
Wild-
celebrity.
Yeah,
Like a full-blown...
So
She was on the road, like a full-blown
I
celebrity.
mean, he knows Greek, he knows Latin. He obviously he's a learned man. He's a learned man. He clearly could have monetized his rep.
Yes, and he knew it.
Yeah.
Here in Fort Griffin, Texas, Doc opens up a dental practice to try to settle down. This is unacceptable to Big Nose Kate, so she leaves him.
Do you think this is who Big Nose Kate is to Doc? Just kind of like someone who is riding on his coattails, like loves the. So, okay. well,
No, I think that she's leaving his party ways. She's leaving so she can continue her party ways,
Yeah.
is really what it is. He's trying to settle
Dentist?
down and become a respectable dentist again.
Dentists can go wild, man.
And in a town like Fort Griffin, Texas, they can sure use a dentist because Lord knows they don't have one. And he is a good dentist, but she is not a prostitute and party girl because she needs to be. It's the life she's choosing. She now, Big Nose Kate can be her own episode, and I don't want to get too into her character because she really might be an episode upcoming because we can totally spend 45 minutes an hour on her.
BNK.
But she's independent, and she's out for a good time, and this is Doc really trying to better himself and to leave his old ways. He's getting himself into a lot of trouble, and he's trying to move forward, and she just doesn't want to have it.
I wonder really what being a dentist in the late 1800s
I think
looks
you're in
like.
everything. I think once you're a dentist, you're also a general doctor. You might also be a barber.
Yeah. Nothing but pain dentistry. I would imagine like just nothing but pain for obviously for the patients.
Yeah, I don't think there's much for local anesthesia or other
No,
than
I don't think there's anything yet.
alcohol.
Which always was a terrible idea because then once you start bleeding, you don't stop. It thins the blood and it keeps you bleeding. I would imagine you could get away with a lot as a dentist back then. He's like ripping people's teeth out.
Like Steve Martin in Little Shop of Horrors.
God, the greatest dentist.
Oh, my favorite
Greatest
dentist.
cinematic dentist of all time.
Now, according to Wyatt Earp,
Oh, mama.
it was here in Griffin, Texas, when Doc was playing cards with a notorious bully and gambler, Ed Bailey. Bailey kept looking at the discard pile after every hand. Mm-hmm. That's cheating. But it also might be a novice mistake. He told Bailey
Cow
to
counting?
not...
Like cow. Oh, my God.
Oh yeah, almost like
count-
card
yeah,
counting,
yeah.
almost, because you know that those cards aren't going to be in the next hand.
Right.
So it does absolutely give you an advantage.
I did say, I didn't mean to say card counting, but it came out cow counting, which is also a great way to spend time.
Doc told Bailey to not do that, and that it was a blatant disregard for the rules. Bailey did it again. Doc reminded him a second time. When Bailey did it a third time, Doc just grabbed the whole pot and was getting ready to leave. This is when Bailey pulled a gun on Doc and demanded he leave that pot for him. Doc pulled out his knife and disemboweled Bailey right there on the card table and left him on display in a pool of his own blood.
Jeez.
Some accounts of the story say he stuck it in between his ribs. Other accounts of the story say that he was disemboweled. Regardless, he was left on display on the card table.
Yeah.
Which, the gun being drawn, I thought I would have made some kind of maybe a joke about Swiss cheese or a Swiss cheese reference, but I thought better. I thought
Thank you.
I thought I would have made a Swiss cheese reference, but I thought cheddar of the situation.
Oh, for fuck.
You get it?
Yes.
Cheddar of the situation.
No, I get it.
Because he got stabbed.
Cheddar. Yep.
Cheddar. It's extra sharp.
Oh, God. Oh, God.
You get it?
I do wonder what kind of knife he used. The Bowie knife was
They say
pretty popular.
They say it. They
Oh.
say it was probably a Bowie knife,
Yeah.
not Bowie, a Bowie knife.
Yes.
Yes. The grotesque scene formed an angry. Why am I stumbling on my words? The grotesque scene formed an angry mob and tried to throw him in jail, but the town had no jail. So the constable locked Doc in a hotel room, but the mob got bigger and angrier and was soon about to overtake the hotel and conduct a lynching. And you can guess, and can you guess who enters the game?
Santa Claus.
Big Nose Kate.
I was close.
She sets fire to a shed knowing that it's going to spread quickly, and during this panic, shows up to the hotel with a pistol in each hand and demands his release. They then flee to Dodge City, Kansas.
I could picture.
How badass is that?
I could picture the music from The Bodyguard playing, like slow motion.
How's that song go?
I will always love you. Something like that.
So I would think that it would be like Rage Against the Machine or something like that.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's a love scene. It's a love scene. It's a great love scene.
Oh, when they're riding off.
Yeah,
They
yeah, yeah.
Oh, no, I'm talking about the jailbreak.
Oh, no,
She sets fire to the town.
I'm talking about like, and I
Burn
can
it,
picture him like,
burn.
I can picture
him,
Big Nose
burn.
Kate, like just carrying him like a child out.
Bing, ding, 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 bing, bing, ding, 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 ding.
I gotta-
Puck, puck. Whee!
I have to unmute your mic somehow. I have to mute your mic somehow.
Big Nose Kate says it was here in Dodge City that they got married, but there are no official records to back up her statement.
Are we married? Yes, we are. Okay.
Wyatt also relocates to Dodge City. They both become house dealers at the Long Branch Saloon. This is when they meet the disorderly gang that called themselves the Cowboys. They bullied the patrons of the saloons and the general public at large in Dodge City. One night, as Wyatt was surrounded by cowboys, telling Wyatt he needs to say his final words, Doc comes into the picture and restores order by pulling his pistol out and putting it up to a cowboy's head, reminding him that they should all work on their manners.
It's good.
In this gesture, Wyatt felt he owed his life to Doc. Now, I'm going to try to not tell any bad jokes
Oh,
about
great.
guns
That's great. Good.
because it might be triggering.
Oh, for God's sakes.
But I'll keep my humor to the highest caliber because I don't want to get fired.
Oh, I'm working on it.
In 1879, the group temporarily parts ways. Doc to Prescott, Arizona, to get his affairs in order, and Wyatt joins his brothers in the mining town of Tombstone, Arizona.
Oh,
Now-
they named after the movie.
Oh, no way.
They named Tombstone, Arizona after the movie. That's great. That's so cool.
Now, Doc is already like crazy mysterious.
Yeah.
The only stories we know of him are the ones where he's in towns where he's using his own name. But to get his affairs in order is a quote. What do you think that even means?
Health, probably. I'm going to guess health at this point.
Really?
I'm going to guess.
Maybe it's just to
Because going to Arizona, like, this kind of weather is like... this in Arizona, even now they tell people to go to Arizona for like the dry heat and it's good for your breathing. And I'm guessing somebody with tuberculosis or oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank on what they call it, but like the consumption that going to Arizona is going to be great for your health, or at least theoretically great for your health.
theoretically, I guess. Yeah, that might be it. But him being as mysterious as he is, and they're not
What do you
being
think?
any official, I don't know.
Yeah.
It could be. This is one of the things where it's just up to whoever's reading it.
Well, that's the cool thing about. I think a lot of people forget that about history is that history is a lot of fill in the blank.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't know as much as you think you know, and what you do know is largely presumption. Well, here's what he may have done during that time,
Yeah.
or here are things that may have happened in that part of Arizona that are being attributed to him. Oh, in Prescott, Arizona, so and so was killed. Well, that may have been Doc operating under another name. You start attributing these things, you start trying to fill in the blanks. But I do like the mystery of it. And how much you simply will just never know. I do think that
Yeah.
adds some allure to the character.
Oh,
that we're
definitely.
yeah, right.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Now, Wyatt joined his brothers here in the mining town of Tombstone. Doc meets up with them here, but he took his time getting there along the way. At this point, Doc was known by people that hadn't met him. He was famous.
Yeah, sure.
At this point, he's well beyond a well-known gambler, and he's a legendary quick draw. Now, like I said, he doesn't have many confirmed kills, but he never backs down. Now, this is a man that knows he's dying of tuberculosis.
Right.
And he's not a very bad guy, but he's a dangerous guy.
Okay.
There's not many people like that exist.
Never trust people who know Latin.
Well,
No, it's just a
well, someone that doesn't care about their own life generally is crazy,
yeah.
and with that, they're doing crazy things. Doc doesn't do crazy things. He just doesn't care for his life. He's mostly on the side of good. If he's not a good guy.
I think you would maybe call that like an anti-hero. Kind of,
Yeah.
he's doing terrible things, but he's seemingly for
But
the
he's
right
not doing
reason.
terrible things.
Well, I think disemboweling someone on the table is pretty
A
terrible.
gun was drawn on him.
I understand, but I'm
You know?
saying, This is. I mean, the degenerate gambling is.
He could have walked away from a lot of his confrontations,
Yeah.
but decided to end them with violence.
He could have been a dentist. He just should have stayed a dentist. What
Right.
if, imagine like, well, there's got to be one of those great like what ifs in history. Like, what if Doc Holliday just stayed
Here's a what
doc?
if. Here's a what if.
Oh, give me a what if.
No one would know Doc Holliday's name if he just stayed with his cousin back in Georgia.
Yes.
For real.
No,
I
yeah.
really mean that. Though.
Yeah. That's
He
yeah.
wouldn't have traveled.
Yeah.
He would have just stayed a rich kid,
Damn. Well,
living
yeah.
on his parents' money
right.
with his own practice from a prestigious school. He would have been fine, and
Dandy.
we might know his name because it would be the name of a hospital now or something. You know,
Right. The Doc Holliday Inn.
I love it.
Trademark that.
Now, I won't be getting into the details of the gunfight at the OK Corral.
Okay.
That can totally be an episode all within itself. Like every moment of that thing of we can dissect every
Yeah.
hypothetical moment of that because there are records of who shot when, who shot after what gunshots are going off at the same time. That is just there were witnesses to that because it happened in broad daylight with people there watching. But I will say that it's rumored that while Virgil Earp was actively trying to de-escalate the entire altercation, it was said by multiple witnesses that it was Doc that instigated its start. Didn't necessarily shoot the first shot, but definitely instigated. And that Doc also somehow handled a double-barrel shotgun and a pistol simultaneously.
Right.
This man, in this moment, is a legend.
That's pretty cool.
Have you ever held a shotgun?
No.
It's big.
Super Soaker.
It's big. It's
What the hell is Super Soaker?
it's a big fat barrel. The cartridge that you put in there is huge. It's not a bullet. Doesn't shoot a bullet. I mean, it can shoot a slug.
Okay.
It's big. They were using buckshot back then. There were 16 buckshot in each cartridge that Doc used.
So is it probable? Is it likely that he was able to handle a gun like that with one hand?
It's more likely that with his forehand that's on the grip of the shotgun was also holding a pistol.
I don't know. See, this is where I hear stuff like this about when history.
Now, if it's a shorter sawed-off shotgun,
I'm
you
not sure.
can handle it with one hand, but the kickback is huge. You're still going to need two hands to. You can hold it with one hand, so you can shoot it using two hands and then resort to your pistol, but you're not shooting both at the same time.
And
Unless you're holding the pistol and
you're
the
still
foregrip at the same
okay with
time.
this idea that he actually did this? I don't think he did.
what I am okay with saying is with this kind
I don't
of...
mean you per se. I just mean like
he's a legend.
Fine.
He's a legend.
But that goes with being a legend is this kind of misinformation that we attribute to him. Like, then he jumped over a mountain. Like,
Right.
I'm cool with that. I get that. But I
can throw this football over those mountains.
Right. Yeah. And then someone says, "Oh my God, remember that day that Q threw a football over a mountain? You had to be there." It all gets kind of like caught in the. And I'm okay with it. The romanticism, the mystique, the allure of what the Wild West was. I'm okay with that in terms of a storytelling. And I think the embellishment kind of adds to the entertainment of it.
I do too.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah. This shootout was not the end of the saga, though. In a way, it's just the beginning. Wyatt and his boys got shot up, but they all survived. Several of the cowboys were killed, though. Now, the judge, who happened to be a relative of the Earps, ruled the gunfight was justified.
Right.
Because, Wild West.
Nepotism.
Nepotism. This pissed the Cowboys off, so, naturally they're going to get pissed off.
I mean,
So
they should be pissed off because they have the lamest nickname of a group.
they get revenge by ambushing a couple of the Earp brothers, having them soon die from their wounds. This is the start of Wyatt Earp's Vendetta ride, where he and a group of men, including Doc and, I just added this guy's name because it's really fun to say,
Sure.
Turkey Creek Jack Johnson.
I love it.
They ride from town to town, killing anyone with any affiliation with the Cowboy Gang.
Now, what did this ride have to do with, like, cheese? What is the Velveeta ride? I'm not sure I understand.
Well, you see, it just melts better.
Oh, Vendetta. Okay. Velveeta, sorry, I misunderstood.
Also, not going to get into the details about the Vendetta ride because that also could totally
Right.
be its own episode.
Big Nose Kate, Vendetta ride.
These are
Okay, Corral.
substantial parts of Wild West history, and I'm surprised there's not movies about them within themselves. I really am.
Like those, like Big Kate, Big Nose Kate.
Big Nose Kate, yeah.
Yeah.
Now she wasn't. Now she was called Big Nose Kate not because she had a big nose, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. She was a very attractive woman.
Yes.
She was called Big Nose Kate because that was just another way of saying nosy.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was picturing a gigantic
No,
nose.
no, she was
Like Roxanne?
She was. I remember Roxanne. Speaking of Steve Martin,
Yeah, right.
remember how he drank the wine?
Yeah. It's the second Steve Martin reference in this show.
Yeah, no, she it was just because Wyatt Earp called her Big Nose Kate, and it was not a very endearing term. He did not get along with her, and the feeling was reciprocated with Wyatt. Her with Wyatt, I mean.
Sure.
But it wasn't about her looks. It was just about her demeanor in general. Now, Stillwell, a Cowboy Gang member, is at a crowded train station to ambush Wyatt and Doc. But Wyatt sees him first, sneaks up behind him and says, "Hey, Stillwell." He turns around. Wyatt shoots him with a close-range shotgun blast right in the chest.
Nice.
At the end of the Vendetta ride, just like in the movie, Johnny Ringo challenges Wyatt to a gunfight, and Doc steps up and says,
I'm your Huckleberry.
"I'm your Huckleberry." A policeman is on the scene and restores order, and no guns are drawn. The next day, Ringo is seen, when I say seen, I should actually say found,
Right.
by the old oak tree with a single gunshot wound, entering his temple and exiting his crown.
Wow, he's wearing a crown.
It was ruled a suicide, but Wyatt's third wife, the woman that actually plays the actress in the movie Tombstone, the one that comes into town with and befriends 90210 dude.
Oh, Jason Priestley.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now that's the wife. That's his third wife now.
Okay.
She wrote a book, and she actually says that she thinks, she knows,
Sure.
she claims, that it was Doc that killed Ringo during a private duel between the two.
I'm sure that'll help sells the book.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know,
maybe,
yeah.
After the bloodshed of the Vendetta ride, Wyatt and Doc part ways, mostly because they have to. Because there's a warrant out for the arrest of Wyatt, Doc, and two other of the Vendetta riders for the questionable death of that Cowboy Gang member, Stillwell.
Stillwell, yeah.
I mean, can you believe how sensitive these snowflakes are being?
No.
I mean, if you can't go on a killing rampage
Right,
without
right.
rampage killing, what's the point?
I mean, yeah. I mean, at this point, I could see, like, I guess, you know, that is probably, it's kind of like while they stop talking about Helen Keller after she starts espousing about communism and socialism. I guess they stopped telling the story of Wyatt Earp when he goes on goes from being the hero to a guy going on a murderous rampage through town to town. So you know, in terms of like how they don't cover that or why they don't cover that, I guess it would go contrary to the image that the general population has about Wyatt Earp.
But they do talk about it.
No, before you were saying like they don't make like too many movies about the rampage, the Vendetta ride, and
Right,
things
but
like-
they should. I mean,
That's what. Right, that's what I'm saying. This is my explanation
it's
for
still
why.
A team versus B team, but there's a lot of crossover, which actually makes it more realistic.
Yeah. I don't think the
is-
A-Team
is it-
did
is
this.
It, is it justified?
The
Is
18
it,
didn't go on a murderous rampage. B.A. Baracus
no one was ever shot. The only guys that were shot in the A team were people on the A team.
Yeah.
And the A team guys would be shooting guns the whole time and blowing things up, yet they never hurt anyone else.
I do like a good 18.
You know, B.A. Baracus was afraid of flying.
I do remember that.
You remember that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They had to sneak like usually had to sneak something into his banana to get him on. I always talk about that. I'm like, that's what you got to do when I get on a plane. You got to sneak something into my banana, calm me down.
What do you mean? You eat bananas with your eyes closed?
Yeah, why? Yeah.
That's hot.
Doesn't everybody?
Now, now that there's a warrant out for his arrest, Doc heads to New Mexico. Soon, Wyatt meets Doc in Albuquerque, and they're eating at a restaurant called Fat Charlie's.
Love it.
Doc, for
Sounds
whatever,
good.
doesn't it though?
Yeah.
Doc, for whatever reason, calls Wyatt a damn Jew boy,
Ugh.
and Wyatt loses it.
Was White Jewish?
Wyatt yells at Doc, storms out, and they never speak again. Wyatt's wife is Jewish,
Oh yeah.
and he had friends that were Jewish.
Anti-Semitism usually does end friendships.
He wasn't having it.
Yeah.
Doc, very soon later, went to a fancy hotel in Gledwin Springs, Colorado. The springs were said to have had sulfur vapors that have healing properties.
Oh, the smell of sulfur is always good.
Doc ultimately dies here. In his final days, he isn't very aware of his condition or his surroundings.
Why does everything smell like goddamn
He's
sulfur?
pretty much bedridden.
Yeah.
In his final hours, he becomes lucid. He asks for a glass of whiskey. He savors it. He then looks at his boots on his floor, the nurse at his side, and then his bare feet. And he says,
This is funny.
"This is funny," and takes his final breath. He, more than everyone else, thought he would die with his boots on.
Nice. That's pretty cool. Water.
Even though he goes out on his back,
Doc Holiday.
he still thought he was going to go out like a G. But he kind of did.
Yeah, I was gonna say he kind of does.
Yeah.
You know, he's a legend.
And he's a man. He's a normal guy at the same time.
Yeah,
You know,
just your average
all
dentist.
all kinds of crazy flaws in his life. You know, falling in love with a prostitute, slave owner, gambler, alcoholic,
Well,
but you know, still has endearing qualities.
well, that's the thing too. When you look at historical figures in any degree, you have to say to yourself, like, you have to take the good and the bad. If you're going to find something endearing, you could look at any historical figure and say, well, they're not worthy of celebration or interest or attention because they have some bad qualities to it. Or you could, focus on the aspects. I guess it's a choice you make. You could definitely do that with Doc Holliday. You could definitely do that
You
with
could do
Doc.
it with anybody, but,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I'm saying, but you could definitely do that with Doc Holliday as well. That's my point. You could do that with anybody, right? So, but what we do with Doc Holliday is we kind of focus on the mysterious guardian of the herbs quality rather than the degenerate gambling, former slave owning, weird part-time dentist.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But would we say this about his aliases?
I guess
I
we'll
mean,
never know, right?
we only know
Right.
we only know about one, Thomas McKay,
Yeah.
Mackey, but that's
What do we know
that's
about
only
Thomas
because we
Mackey?
know about that
Yeah,
one.
yeah, right.
You know, what other aliases has he gone by, and what crimes has he done under those names?
Right.
I mean, if you have an alias, we know that he had an alias because he was running from fines, but people that have aliases are not just running; they're also keeping themselves from being found in the future.
Yeah, I do.
with the actions that they're partaking in presently.
I'm fascinated by the idea that you could just be like, no, my name's Tim. All right, hi Tim. Like, hey, Tim Smith.
It was a time when the way to get away with murder was all you had to do was leave town before the cops show up.
Right, right.
Now you have to make a new life.
It
You know,
doesn't sound that hard.
It's probably the easiest way to get away
Yeah.
with murder ever.
Doesn't sound that hard. I can't tell you how many people you study in history and then we just lose track of them. We have no idea what happens to them.
Tell me. Oh, you said you can't.
No, I can't. I refuse to tell you.
All right.
It just happens. They're just gone. They're just gone. Where'd they come from? Where'd they go?
Where did they come from?
Cotton Eye Joe.
Thank you.
I finished that.
Well, that is the story of Doc Holliday. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Q.
I'm still Tom.
Deuces, everybody.
Double deuces. Triple fucking quadruple deuces.
Damn.
I know.
You
I aggressively outnumbered you that time.
Yeah.
It's been a long day.
This has been another episode of Nerds Night Out Podcast.